Organic compost is sought after by gardeners and growers alike. They go through great processes to produce it on their property and to find the best resources for it. Hi, I'm Sonia with Suburban Gardening. As a gardener, I'm also on the hunt for the best compost that I can find and at the most affordable price. Compost to the soil is like water to the soil when we're growing our plants. You've seen those big compost piles, and maybe you've even seen those big barrels that people put on their property. Well, unfortunately, most suburban gardens aren't big enough for that kind of an application. But that doesn't mean that we are out of the composting experience. We need to scale it down a little bit, and we need to do it a little bit differently, but it's definitely doable in a suburban garden. I'm excited to show you how I use kitchen scraps to make compost for my suburban garden. I want to go through the process and show you how I make kitchen scraps into compost for my garden, but I wanted to just tell you that at the end of the video I'm going to go through just a little bit more details on what composting is and actually why it's good for our soil. So if you're interested, just hang around for that. But it is rainy and windy here in Southern California. This is unusual weather for us, so we are really enjoying it, but that's why we are inside today. I wanted to start by showing you the very few tools that I use to get this thing started. The tools that I use for my suburban composting are very simple. This is just a cookie sheet that has some cooling racks on it. And you can pick these up at the 99-cent store if you don't have any extras in your kitchen. The reason I do this is because there's a lot of air movement here. I get a lot of air underneath and on top, and that helps this compost to dry really fast. The other thing I like to use is because depending on the time of the year, like at Thanksgiving, we had a lot of potato peels. So I needed extra trays. So this is something that I get from the nursery when I go and I buy a few plants. They'll let me take one of these home to carry my plants in. So you might ask them if they have one of these, if you can have. Sometimes they're happy to get rid of them. Some of the other tools that I use are the things that you have in your kitchen. A potato peeler, a large knife, and kitchen shears. I use these to cut up the banana peels with. They work absolutely great for that particular purpose. On my tray, I have celery, of course the banana peels. Now these are shredded potatoes. And the reason why anything shredded, like shredded carrots, shredded sweet potatoes, are great because they're very thin and they dry really fast. So that is perfect for suburban composting. This is just some lettuce that didn't quite make it. And over on this tray, I have some asparagus tips that we didn't eat. I have avocado, I have spinach. This is some sticks that came from some parsley that we dried. And this is carrot tops. So as we're going along today, I hope you'll be thinking of things that can work for you in your garden and things that you cook in your kitchen that maybe you can repurpose into your garden soil. One thing that's very important to remember is nothing can have oil, salt, or any kind of seasonings on it. It's got to be in its absolute raw form. Once my trays with my compost on them have set out in the sun and I'm absolutely sure they're 100% completely dry, then all I do is I just pack them in these storage kind of containers. This is just something used that we had another product in, and I washed it out and I keep my compost in. I also use eggs in my suburban compost, although they take a little extra special attention. It's very important when you put eggs in your compost, especially in the suburban kind that we're doing, that you clean the inside of the egg out after you use it and then dry them. What I've done is I keep collecting them in my compost keeper that I keep on my counter in the kitchen because I absolutely think it's adorable. It has little holes in the top so that it can breathe, and it has a filter inside just in case you were going to keep some things in there that maybe start to decompose. But I don't put that in this compost keeper. So as you can see, it's gotten pretty full, and it's time now to process these. And what I do is I pulverize them in my food processor. So let me show you what that looks like. The reason that I pulverize my eggshells is because if you took an eggshell and you just buried it in the soil outside, you could go back a year later and it would be completely intact. Eggshells do not break down quickly. So I pulverize them into a powder, and that makes them much more bioavailable. You can notice that I keep my eggshells separately than I do my regular Suburban compost. And the reason why is because I know there's some acid-loving plants that struggle bringing nutrients up into the plant if there's too much calcium in the soil. Now this is a pretty small scale operation, so I don't worry about it too much, but I do like to have powdered eggshell, for instance, if I'm going to be planting tomatoes. I take about a tablespoon of the powder and I put it down in the hole before I set the tomato plants in there. And then I know that it has the calcium that it needs, and it could help prevent the bottom end rot. I don't know if you guys noticed or not, but I didn't mention anything about fruit except for the banana peels in this application. Fruit stays wet far too long, even if you slice up into little shavings. It just stays wet too long, and that way it attracts gnats and other kind of insects and critters that we just don't want to have in our house or in our garden. It looks like the sun is starting to peek out, so I thought I'd run out here and show you how I'm going to put our Suburban compost into this beautiful pot. Now, I inherited these pots. I have 3 of them from my dear friend who passed away, and I absolutely love them, and I keep them in my garden all the time, and I'm getting ready to put some winter interest in here. But for right now, I just wanted to show you about our Suburban compost. So I've already put a little bit in, but generally what I would do is I would fill this pot up about halfway. It's a little fuller than halfway. And I basically would just put the compost in. In a pot this size, you could probably get away with 2 cups of compost. Basically, I want to dig it down in there. Then I'm going to put more soil on top. Then I'm going to put my plants in. So I know that down inside of this pot, there is going to be plenty of food for my plants. Now, I'm also going to put in some organic fertilizer when I put the plants in. So they will have extended food that's going to break down slowly. They'll have immediate food that they'll be able to pick up, and then they'll have food that's just available in the next couple of weeks. So they're going to be covered from every situation. I like to think of compost like I think about feeding myself. I need food every day to keep me strong, give me energy, and keep me healthy so I can do the things that I like to do. The soil's exactly the same way. We need to be adding organic matter, organic compost, organic fertilizers back into the soil so it will feed the plants and they can grow, be strong, healthy, and make us beautiful flowers and vegetables or whatever we decide to grow. What I really love about this process is we're using kitchen scraps, things that we would normally throw away, to put back into our soil to make plant food with. So you guys,